Hey everyone, can you hear me fine? I think the audio is working, but yeah. Let me see. Yeah, should be fine. Okay, let's start our stream. Okay, so last time I stopped off here and I wanted to start focusing on the legs. And I need to do a couple of changes. So let's get on with that. I want some kind of like a better leg in general. So the UI is in Japanese, so I'm gonna change it to English. Fill, it's pretty green, so I'm gonna change it to a bit more bodysuit color. Yeah, should be fine. Okay, and since I was still using ZBrush, I need to then just update the mesh then. I think I should do it. Maybe a bit more brighter color, something like this. Yeah, sure, it's fine. Okay. Hello, konbanwa. Well, it's morning, so konnichiwa. Just stopping by for a look and work. Yeah. Oh yeah, I had a model inside, which I don't think I need right now. Well, we can do it afterwards. On the past streams, I was using the method of making the inside and then making it so it penetrates the body and goes outside of the shell. But now I don't really need to use that. I can just use the new function in ZBrush 2021.6.2. I can just use the mesh project to do these kind of details. So if you have watched my stream in the past and think it's weird that wondering why I'm using these kind of methods, it's because of the past versions. But now you can just use mesh project to get the surface mesh and then get the results better. So it's really fun. I can show you a couple of ways you can use the new features to your advantage. But let me just get on with the leg shapes and get the basic shapes done. Well, I can use the new function as well for these. So what I want is basically a robotic leg at the end. So that's why my leg is a bit like simple shaped. I was gonna try to like adjust it later on. So let me see if I can design a good leg. So first of all, I want to have a separate subtool with legs without subdivision levels, and then go into mesh bubble balloon, and then drawing some kind of shape. And yeah, so the basic function of the mesh balloon is to use the mask to create the area, and then if you end the mask, you're going to get a result like this. And if you use something like mesh project, and if you switch it to curve, and then if you draw a line, alt tab, alt tab, alt tab, you get a result like this. So this is really handy for making some like panels or designs, and I'm going to use this for making some designs on the legs. So something like this. So I can use this as a base, and I just need to split the mesh from the body like this, and I can delete the base mesh, delete, and then I can just play around with the surface details like so. So this is really easy for making some bases and for armor parts and stuff like that. You can always use the traditional way of like masking and then getting the shapes. Like for example, if I want to make a boot, it's easier for me to actually mask out the areas and then use the extract function as the same in the past. So that's one way to do it. But if you want to do some like layers or panels, then this is the way to be more quick about it. How do you keep adding layers on top to add more panels? You need to enable live boolean, and after you enable live booleans, if you draw some lines like this, it's going to generate a surface on top, right? And then if you want to make a new subtool like this, you can just press shift and confirm. So you have a separate subtool, and you have a separate shape compared to the panel you have. So you can do this as well. If there's two modes basically. So if you have live booleans on, if you press shift, you're gonna have additional subtools. And if you press alt, you can subtract, you can create a new subtool that subtracts to the existing mesh. And if you don't enable live booleans, and if you draw some shapes, you can like add to that shape or remove the shape from that shape. So let me show you. So if you turn off the live booleans, and then, for example, if you draw a shape like this, and if you don't move around the cameras, you can change the shape with like pressing alt and then confirming. You can delete the stroke, well, the shape you made. So if you move the camera, it's not gonna be able to like do any like additions or subtractions. You're gonna add one more shape on top of it. So that's the difference. So if you enable live booleans, you're gonna create a new subtool instead. If you press alt like this, it's gonna create a new subtool with the subtractions on, But if you have the live booleans turned off, and then if you do a stroke and then if you do an alt, it's going to subtract to the existing mesh. So that's the difference between the live boolean on and off. So if you want to just keep adding on top of it, you just need to like create a stroke, confirm, create a stroke, confirm, create a stroke, and confirm. Then you get a result, right? And then if you want to add to the existing mesh, then you can just press Shift, and then you're gonna get a new bubble like this. It's trying to connect, and like it's using Dynamesh to connect these kind of like shapes. You're gonna get some kind of like a bubble like this. But if you rotate the cameras and then if you want to add it, you're not gonna be able to do that. So if you want to like rotate the cameras and then add to the existing mesh, you need to use the live boolean functionality. So drawing the shape and then like rotating the cameras, and then like pressing Shift, then it will create a new subtool. You can add it. You can add a new subtools each by each stroke. So you can do this, but yeah, it's pretty handy to just have one subtool. And then if you want to subtract, you just want to separate the subtool. And also there is a couple of like things you can do with the mesh project. If you change the intensity to 0, don't forget to press the Control key while doing so, because you want to change the mask brush categories setting of the Z intensity. So you just need to press the Control key while doing so. And then if you draw a shape, let's say, let's switch to lasso and draw something like this. Booleans off. Yeah, so it's creating, it's hard to say, like, let me change the colors. Like, it's creating a new shape, but it doesn't have any thickness, right? So if you turn the Z intensity to 0, you're not gonna have any backside to it. So it's pretty handy for like creating speedy panels. You can add your thickness later on with other features like dynamic subdivisions as well. So those are pretty handy to use. And the good thing with live booleans mode active is that when you draw a shape and then rotate it and then try to draw another shape, it'll try to do it the same thickness like this. So it's handy for multiple designs. Like for example, if you want the middle part to be separated, but being able to change something like this and have the side shapes a bit different, you can do this as well. Does continuous Z work on masking too, or only curves? That way the mesh sticks to the surface. You mean Yeah, of course. So if you look at the depth, and if you look at the mesh project, well, if you have mesh project active, and then if you check out the picker and the depth, and it is set to continuous Z, but if you turn to once Z, it's going to give you a different result like this, right? So you can do feathers like this very easily. It's not going to stick to your surface, but if you enable continuous Z, it's going to like stick to your surface. So yeah, there's that as well. Can you measure them or make a frame around them like windows where you use slider plates? Measure them? Make a frame around. Well, if you created a mesh and then if you want to merge them into one, you can just use Dynamesh like this, and you will get a like single mesh, right? Or oh, you mean, well, it's gonna generate, it's like a mesh like this, so it just need, like, if you combine it, like, you don't need colors, so Dynamesh without colors. If you Dynamesh without colors, it's gonna keep the polygroup informations intact, and then if you well, if you adjust the data, or you can use let me see, you can use the remesh by union. And then like clean up the polygroups. Something like this. Well, maybe a bit more adjustments, but yeah, you can like put some like frame mesh around it, so you can do that as well. So for example, I can use Dynamesh and then, well, maybe mask pen. And then like polish, and then you can adjust the corners a bit as well. So maybe tweaking it or cleaning up a bit, and then you can use like curved straps on the corners to get something like this. Yeah, it's possible. But it's more for concepting or like making a base mesh. So you do need to do some couple of like adjustments, but it's not too hard to do. Was that your question? Like, am I understanding it correctly? slide the plates. Well, maybe I don't like the designs a bit. Polygroup, automasking, delete. Well, if you want to like wrap around the legs, the best thing you can do is to use the extract features as well. So you already have the existing tools, but in addition, you can use this as well. So. Which works better, Dynamesh or ZBrush? It's a totally different stuff, right? So Dynamesh is good for like making a base mesh, but ZBrush is creating, well, retopologizing the surface. So it's totally recreating the surface. So it both has a purpose. So it's not like a versus situation. Like, in fact, like I use both to create a better surface. So I just do the designs in Dynamesh, and then if I get the actual designs, I recreate the surface so I can go into subdivision mode. So I use ZBrush before I go to subdivisions. The idea of sliding is to make it 3D printable. I don't understand your question well. Well, you can use live boolean to like get a 3D print ready mesh, but is that your question? I have lost lower subdivisions level to Dynamesh. Why does that happen? Because it's using Dynamesh. It's so totally a different stuff. So you can't use subdivisions with Dynamesh. Dynamesh will unify or like make a even amount of polygons all around your subtools. All So the entire mesh will be into like, how do I explain this well? So you have a mesh, and then if you dynamesh, it's totally converting your mesh to become pretty much unified. So one, if you look at the individual polygons, it's going to be the same size for each one. And because it's reconstructing the polygons, you lose subdivision levels, because subdivision levels is a you have a base for subdivision levels. So if you go up and down the subdivision levels, you maintain the lower level and the higher level, right? But if you change the topology structure or the polygon structure, you can't maintain that polygon structure without like having the entire thing reconstructed, right? So you can't do that. So you can't maintain it. So if you change some polygons, and then if you want to maintain it, you can't do it, right? So I think Joseph explains better than me. So, there is a video called Dynamesh versus ZBrushCore, literally. So if you go to ZBrushCore, oh, why did it kick me out of Restream? Sorry guys, I'm taking some error handling. Okay, so if you check out this video, it's explaining literally what I explained, but in a like neater way. I think Canvas, you're a beginner in ZBrush. It takes a while to understand the concept of Dynamesh and ZBrushCore, but if you understand it, it's gonna be easy for you to wrap your head around the ZBrush world, I guess. Like ZBrush is reconstructing the polygons entirely, but it's more in it's actually following the flow of the mesh, so it's more clean. But for Dynamesh, it's more for concepting or designing purposes, and it will join the mesh entirely, and you can do it rapidly as well. So that's the benefit of Dynamesh. Wait, why is it slow? Okay, Yeah, something is wrong. It's not ZBrush itself, like my PC is like lagging for some reason. Yeah, now it feels fine. So what I need to do is checking out some concept designs. I don't know about this one. I can hide it. And think about some kind of design, shapes, extract. Inflate. Close holes. Well, coding transparency is a pretty hard thing to do actually. In like many of the 3D rendering is pretty hard to do, like transparent stuff. Like if you try to learn OpenGL, the first thing you struggle with would be well, the vertex and like showing the polygons, but after that it's gonna be like how to like do transparency stuff. So it's technically hard, to be honest, and it's not an easy feat, and as people might expect. And if you like, you look into other kind of like graphical kind of like libraries, it's the same deal. Like always, you see people asking about transparency stuff. So it's pretty hard to replicate for all of the, not just ZBrush. It's mostly hard to replicate for like a lot of like 3D applications and 3D languages. Well, I'm not a coder, but like that's my understanding of it by like just casually learning some coding in the weekends. And since ZBrush is handling a lot of like polycounts, it's gonna be pretty hard, because if you like if you know back culling, which is not like showing the opposite side of the mesh, like when you're looking from the front, there's no need for the software to show your back side of the mesh, right? But if you do transparencies, you're gonna have to like calculate all of the the structures underneath or the on the opposite side. So that means you're gonna have a lot of like calculations happening on the background that might not really like add up to the final result. So if you want to do transparency in real time, that's pretty much like task intensive, and like it will definitely slow down the performance if you actually want to do it. So there's a couple of reasons why we don't add transparencies in real time, and I think that's one of the reasons. Sometimes it's like really easy to ask, but like if you actually think about the technical aspect and like think about the trade-offs you're gonna get, it makes sense that why it's not added. And a typical ZBrush user is going to use at least like 20 million polygons, right? So if you have multiple subtools and then have that amount of like polygons rotating in real time, it's going to eat up the performance really, really quickly. So What's your ArtStation handles? Well, no. I have a ZBrush Central account. I don't really update ArtStations that much, so like I haven't been there for a couple of months now. I didn't really update any. So usually if you go to my ZBrush Central account, it's gonna be easy to see what I'm doing. Hey. I should try to like update my portfolios or try to be up to date with my works, but my weekends are like a mess right now. I haven't catched up to the latest animes as well. Like I'm gonna try to watch Evangelion's movie today, but I already got spoiled a couple of times in Twitter accidentally by someone else, like a stranger. It's kind of like ruined for me. Like, it kind of sucks when you can't really catch up to date and then get spoiled the fun. You know what I mean? Thanks. Hi from Brazil. Hey. What time is it in Brazil? I think it's the afternoon, I guess. Yeah, the spoilers are the worst thing. Like, how did you remove the part of the shoes? No, it's not really removed. It's just embedded inside the skin for now. What I'm gonna do is that if I just like if I want to redesign, like if I want to change the designs, I can just use the Alt key for clay brush, so it goes inside of the skin, so it doesn't look like it doesn't look outside of the skin. So I can change the design rapidly, but without needing to like change the construction of the topology. So for me, this is easy to like just do. And then if I confirm the designs, if I like the designs, I'm gonna actually create the polygons or polygroups differently, and then try to make a different construction out of it. So you can always use live booleans as well. So if you have a live boolean set up, and then you can put shapes and then take away a couple of like parts of the boot as well, or the shoes. Yeah, it's the same thing for most of the armor I did for her. Currently, you can use the new feature called Mesh Project, but before it was added, like I made a inner shape. Like I duplicated the body and then deflated the body so it goes inside, and then I changed the color and then sculpting on top of it so it goes outside with the skin, and then like you can like have some overlap happening, right? So this is coming out from her skin, but if I want to change it, I can just use smooth to like make it go inside. Like for example, if I want to like delete this part, I can just use clay buildup to remove the part, and then if I want like somewhere else to come up, I can just sculpt on top of it. So, and at the end, I can just create a live boolean setup, and then just subtract the skin, so you can just have the outer shell coming out from her skin as a separate subtool. And these are like a pretty handy tips when you're like trying to do some concept designs. What will be some of the tips you can get for artists who just started using ZBrush? Well, Google is your friend. I think that's the best part of it. Like the Google and like searching for videos, searching for past posts, and searching for documentations is the best thing you can do for yourself, and having the patience of like actually reading and understanding the concepts or contexts. From my experience as a ZBrush user, before I became an employee, I was just a casual ZBrush user. So like I'm using ZBrush for like close to 8 years now. But like when I started, like nobody around me was teaching me how to use ZBrush, so like I've learned it myself. And like the best thing about learning is that like you learn a lot when you teach to someone else. So it's better to like try to do some like logging. So like what like especially like making a blog or making a Twitter, and then like writing down notes what you learned, and explain like trying to explain it to someone else. So and then like you'll like understand better because you need to explain it to someone else, right? This is called a rubber duck method, which I think it was the scientific term, and I think it's really goes well when you're learning new stuff, and then you have to immediately learn the concept better because you need to explain it to someone else or explain it to yourself in a way, and then you'll understand better the functionalities, the concept, why it's doing this and that, and those kind of stuff. And after that, if you understand the software, it's not understanding the software part is not that hard, to be honest. Understanding the sculpture or the understanding the geometry, understanding the shapes is the hardest part. Like I really struggle a lot on those kind of stuff, like making the concept, making the designs, what kind of like design is cool, and what kind of fashion is on trend, and those kind of stuff. Those are hard. Like learning the software itself only like takes a couple of minutes for me, like to be honest. Yeah, human anatomy is hard. Like I still don't understand human anatomy. It's like I'm buying books. And like when I ask about human anatomy to like some other artists, they have a different kind of understanding as well because they learned a different book, or like they have a better understanding of better than me. So like even I get confused with like anatomy parts, and then getting another artist to explain another kind of like understanding is really confusing because you have a different level and different like kind of like understanding in the like same field, and because you don't know which is correct, it's really confusing. Hey. Hey, Rodiska, I have a question for you. Was the sticky key issue solved for you? I was checking on Discord and I was worried that it was still persistent. What would be the fighting style? The Mantis Kung Fu stanza would be perfect. Well, I think it's more the Assassin's Creed kind of like stabby stuff. Like when I played Cyberpunk, it was like I immediately switched to Mantis blades, and I was kind of surprised that like it was more hack and slash kind of like actions happening, like using like a sword, and if you do some charge attacks, it's gonna do some stabbing. But I was more expecting more stabs and this kind of like scythe. Well, if you do stabs on the scythe, it's gonna break, right? Structurally. Well, depends on the design. So for posing, like if I have a complex design, especially like have a hard surface design, I try to do as much as possible in this kind of like T-pose shape or A-pose shape. And then after that, I'll try to do some posing. But if it's more like organic shapes, and if it's not really symmetry kind of like precisions, I do the posing first, and then I'll try to do some like symmetries after one. But because this arm dress armor is more symmetry, I'm trying to do as much as possible the symmetry or the hardest part right now in T pose or A pose. So sorry, when I rotate my, well, when I'm sculpting, I accidentally like rotate my sculpt because you can see I injured my finger. When I like press the key here, this is right click, and if I'm doing the strokes, I hit accidentally the right click, it's gonna rotate. So if it's like if I'm drawing a line like this, and then if I hit rotate accidentally, it's gonna rotate. So if this happens, like, I'm sorry. I know it's like hard to see because of this, but can't do anything about it. Are you using Cintiq pen display or a separate tablet? I'm just curious. Well, it's a Cintiq, so this whole thing is a Cintiq 24. Wacom didn't give me any deals or any discounts. I just bought it myself, so my couple of months of salary is like disappeared for this Cintiq. So it's very like comfortable to use, especially when you're especially in the weekends, like if you want to sculpt and then like do some like calm streams, it's really handy for like having a Cintiq. You're not gonna like injure your back, or you're not gonna do some like accidental like undos each time you do some like weird strokes. Do you stream outside of this channel? Yeah, but not really frequently. Like in a couple of months, I only did like, how many times I did? I did it in the New Year's vacations because, yeah, why not? But yeah, the last month I only did 1 or 2 days streaming, and that's it. So I'm not gonna introduce my channel here. It's not really worth it, right? You're not gonna like wait for like a couple of months of me like for just a couple of like hours of sculpting. So it seems a lot closer to traditional sculpting, you know, as if you were sculpting on actual clay. Yeah, like it's, yeah, like especially if you're using like the mesh balloons. It's just like rolling up a clay and then putting it on the surface. So yeah, I used to do traditional sculpting as well. Like I used to do rocks and I used to do clay as well. I loved like sculpting the marbles, especially the white rock called Colada Biancos. So yeah, it feels really natural for me to like roll some like clay and then chuck it into the surface and then see what happens. So especially with the latest editions, um, me and Paul suggested the idea of like adding or like having the having the like this um, having this like Boolean feature. Oh, sorry, my finger hit right click. So we pitched the idea of this, and like I didn't really expect this to be this good. So I'm really happy about the result I'm getting. By the way, Air Gear characters were amazing. I watched the speed video with the OST on the side. Oh, nice. Oh, I can show you my latest work I did in a couple of days ago. Let me show you. Let me save this one. 04. Yeah, it's gonna save time and it's really fun to use, actually. It's not more a saving feature, it's just fun. We just, like, we sometimes add features because it's fun to use. And because it's fun, you can think about a lot of things. I made this during the weekends this week. Well, last week. And this wing is like totally just using using the mesh project feature. So I make a wing base and then just putting some circles with mesh project onto the surface. So it's really simple stuff. This took me around 17 hours from the start. So I just posted a video on my personal channel doing that, like recording the entire like steps in starting from a sphere to the end, but like summarizing it in 2 hours. Like I'm trying to like update and then post a 10-minute version of this one, but you can check out the 2-hour footage, like if you want to see what I'm doing as well. Bit of off topic, but does everyone here refer to the gizmo as a pizza box? Well, for the pizza box joke, which I think Joseph coined the term, is referred to this button where you select multiple subtools, and then if you want to like rotate a couple of like the head, you select these ones, and then if you don't want a wing to rotate, if you don't want a leg to rotate, you select by these kind of like actions, right? And then if you rotate, it's going to do this. So Joseph made a joke that do you want to do a party with like several pizza boxes stacked on top of each other, or just one pizza box for yourself? So that was his joke. So well, I call it Gizmo 3D, but if it's convenient for explaining, I'll use it for those kind of like purposes, right? Oh, you get the joke. Yeah, for the folds, I just use basically standard brush, clay buildup, and just using the usual damn standard. So those are the three features I used. And my custom brush for like adding some kind of like cloth detail, I'm using SDN standard, which is just a adjusted version of standard with alphas, so and a bit of pinch. So if you go to modifiers, and then if you add a bit of like brush modifiers on top of it, it's going to have a pinch. And this is a homage to Bernini's Angels. So if you search the term Bernini Angel, you can see a like angel holding a spear. Like this one. And this was the original design of the angel. And I took that as a reference. And the character itself is from, well, this is a fan art of the character. So the character itself is from a certain scientific railgun. So I just combined the classic and the anime kind of like style and just to do a mix-up. Oh, it didn't really get any like huge amount of views. I'm kind of like a bit like upset about that. But yeah, like you can see the result. I'm pretty happy about the like result of the sculpt itself, but not the amount of views I got. So. Bonk meme too. Yeah, there was a couple of people saying that the bonk meme was like kind of intended, but I didn't really see that, to be honest. I'll watch it. I liked certain. Thanks. If you go to my channel, you can see like I make a lot of like Satin-san figurines, a lot. Well, too much, I guess. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to make some Misaka next time, because I haven't made Misaka for. Well, I did make Misaka for a swimsuit one, but that was pretty much it. And I did make the sisters. How much time have you been spending a day per learning? Depends on what learning you're referring to, like learning the software, learning the sculpt, learning the anatomy, those kind of stuff. learning the sculpt in general? Oh, it's taking way too much time. Weird. Oh, it's topological. Yeah. You have done these characters many times, but why don't you have a base mesh, base anime head or base body? I do, but I just don't like using them. Like, if you look at the recent ones, like the Air Gear models or the Orion and Thompson model, I did use the base mesh, but that's mainly for time saving, right? It's not gonna make you learn and like anatomy or like apply the new knowledge about your anatomy skills. So if I want to learn those, and if I have time, especially, I like to just sculpt from the beginning. It's more fun to do that way. Yeah, there's a couple of people asking me that question a lot, but it's just fun, right? I'm still learning ZBrush, and sometimes I like to exaggerate anatomy proportions, especially for villains, characters, concept. Could this be considered an eyesore sometimes? Is it okay to bypass? Depends on how much you do that. So, like for example, if you do anime models, you're not gonna like follow anatomy like 90% of the time, right? Like for example, the head would not follow the anatomy at all. Like it doesn't make sense for people learning anatomy. It's nothing close to like anatomically correct. But if it's cute, it's correct. And if like when I'm making like anime models, especially like if you look at my time lapse, I start from the like pretty much the like muscle structures like more intensified. Like you can see the muscle structures, you can see the bone structures where the fatty locations are, but after some point you have to make the characters cute, and then you need to understand that like anatomy doesn't go well with cute, so it's a balance, right? So like you have to set your priorities. So if you're making a sculpt for like let's say a Hulk, and that muscle structure is the main part of that character, and then you need to follow the anatomies, but you have to exaggerate it at some point, right? And then that's where you need to like tweak your sliders of like realistic to like anime or exaggerated, right? So what I do is that like I try to do the muscle structures in the beginning and then like smooth out the details so it still has that muscle structure underneath, but it doesn't go away. Get my point here? So I'm trying to follow the anatomy, but like I'm like tweaking it like as I go along. It's difficult to get a 3D artist job as a gaijin in Japan. Greetings from Spain. Yeah, it's very hard, I guess. So first of all, you need to learn. Well, they really require you to speak at least English, and then mainly they need like people in Japan don't communicate with English very well. So you're pretty much required to speak Japanese unless that studio has a translator or a foreign team who can already speak Japanese or English and can help you all on the way. So if you're lucky, you can do that. But like most of the time, if you're seeking a job, and then if you have a specific like studio in mind, it will be hard for you to get a job unless you speak English. English or Japanese. But yeah, you can send your portfolios and then like seek a chance, I guess. Dumb question: how do you record a 17-hour sculpt? How many gigabytes is that on your computer? So I just do some recording, like while I don't really do a recording for recording purpose, right? So what I do is I stream, and then I just like store that stream as a recording. So if I do that, like I can just do some archive as a side, and I don't really need to like focus on this like recording aspect like as much as like making a tutorial. So it doesn't do any like add any effort on top of the sculpting itself. So if I don't like the sculpting, I can just ditch it and then forget about the recording. But if I like the sculpt, and then if I already have the recording done because of the stream, I can just like summarize that video on, like, for example, I use Premiere to edit my videos, and then voila, you got the video summarize up to like 2 hours or like 10 minutes, and then you can post it on YouTube, and you can post your like 3D model on ArtStation or ZBrush Central, and then you can put some videos next to it showing the whole process, right? Yeah. So you can do that. So if you stream, it's easier for you to have the whole archive. But the issue is that when you forget to do the streams, while if you do some like body parts or like certain specific part outside of the stream, and then you forgot, oh, I forgot to press record, or like I forgot to do the stream, and then you lost a part of it, and then that's going to be a problem. So problem, or I think it's a problem for me. I usually want to record the entire process and not like trim part of the important parts out. But sometimes I have to do it because I forgot to record, or I'm sometimes do an entire model outside of the stream and then forgot I did the recording, and then forgot I didn't do the recording, and then the entire model is done, but people are expecting that to be recorded, but I didn't do the recording. So yeah, there's that as well. So one example is I made a Frenda and Saten-san model, and there's two pairs like on the back of each other, right? And it took me around like 40 hours to do that specific model because it's two characters, and it was like a long span, like two or three versions changed while I was doing the creation itself. And when I wanted to make a video, I just totally forgot I didn't record any of it, and like some part was recorded, some part was doing the stream, some part was totally missing, and it was like, since it was like a half-month long project, so it was hard for me to track down and then create a video out of it, so I just gave up. That happens. But if you do the recording on the stream itself, it's really easy to do. I can't really talk about the future developments related to ZBrush, so the only thing I can say is just wait for it. wait till we announce it officially. Sometimes you don't even plan on recording until mid-process. If that happens, you can use the undo steps and show your process. Well, I don't really save the undo histories, so if I saved it and then like on the next day I decided to oh, I like this model, I want to record it, I don't save the undo histories, so that's impossible to do. But yeah, if you're a kind of a guy who records, well, if you save the undo history, you can do that as well. So the way you do it is just go to movie, and then if you press dock large, and then if you press F history, it's gonna do the recording of your entire history, and then try to do the entire process out of it. So, but it's gonna be a huge file size because of the history. So I tend not to do it. I want to keep the hard disk drive as as much as possible, and usually having a file smaller file size is better for file integrity purposes as well. Sometimes the undo history will trigger the file to collapse. What's the term? Not be able to open because some specific action you did in the past is weird, and ZBrush would think it's an error, so it's not going to open. Corruptions. So sometimes you want to maintain as little as possible, and keep your file clean as much as possible. Recording itself doesn't really cause it to lag, but depends on what kind of recording you're doing. Amazing work. You're probably sick of this question, but what book tutorials do you recommend to get started in ZBrush journey? Depends on what you want to do, right? If you want to do 3D print models, but you're getting recommended character anatomy or creature design classes, yeah, you're gonna get bored really easily. So it really depends on what you want to do, and it's really specific for that person which tutorial they find it easy to see. And you do kind of get into a tutorial journey at the get-go, but I usually recommend the Z Classroom videos from the start, and then check out the beginners series done by Solomon. And then try to check out some couple of live streams from other well, especially Pixologic employees. Especially there's a beginner tutorial series from Joseph, which I think it was done last year in the well, just around last year, so just 1 year ago. There was a beginner tutorial done by Joseph, and he pretty much covers the basic concept of using ZBrush. So you can follow that video as well. And then if you want to make specific models, you can check out other people's streams as well. you can learn a lot from other people's workflows. Like if you're confused with some workflow, I just recommend people to just watch other people's workflow. And I wonder why they don't watch other people's workflows. So the best thing is that like I used to sculpt rocks, right? Sculpting rocks, people don't record that process compared to the like ZBrush sculpting process, right? It's easy to see other people's workflow, and it's like pressing buttons, and then understanding the concept, right? But if you're sculpting rocks, nobody's going to record the entire process like of sculpting rocks unless you're a teacher or a sculptor who's doing those kind of like stuff. So try to take that as an advantage as much as possible. When I was like sculpting rocks in uni, the teachers were pretty mean. Like they don't really teach you anything. So yeah, like the teachers are like pretty much like, why don't you know about this kind of stuff? And like I was like, well, I thought you were gonna teach me those kind of stuff, and they weren't. So that's that as well. So one advantage of like, well, Solomon left the company a while ago. Yeah, he's a great teacher. His sculpt is really great. Digital sculpting is like digital sculpting has a big advantage. Like you see a lot of like recordings, right? Like people underestimate that like aspect a lot. So yeah, I kind of like see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, like for a skilled person who knows where to get the information, it's easy for them to like see where to look for. But like for example, my job is doing marketing, right? And then if I want to search specific terms in ZBrush, and like if I look up like some specific terms in ZBrush and then get to know about the informations, like I'm like trying to trace what the person will do to learn about ZBrush, and like the most like I see a lot of like crappy articles talking about ZBrush, and then talking about like a wrong way to do it. And for me, it's obvious that it's wrong, right? But who's not like people will see that blog post or like the article or some like like automated constructed site explaining those concepts, like they get really confused. So I kind of like see the point of like there's like a lot of information out there. It's really hard to see the true like valuable one, but it's like it's like it's hard to like get those kind of like eyes to be able to identify the good and bad informations, unless you go through like seeing those kind of like good and bad informations, and then like getting like spending time and wasting time in a way, and to learn, oh, this is not a good information, oh, this does nothing to you, oh, those kind of like you need to make those kind of um, cases in like your experience, and then you have a taste for a good information source, or oh, I understand this is a good person to follow, or those kind of like stuff. So like, learning things is really hard, but you need to waste time to get good. So I see a lot of like people like don't want to waste time to like they just want answers. But the best way to get the shortest like the best answer possible is to just experience the bad ones, and then experience the good ones, and then having the having the separation or the border inside you to distinguish the good ones and the bad ones. I don't know how to say this, but like you know how artificial intelligence learn new things is that there's a thing called supervised learning. Supervised learning means that the person who's looking at the information determines a set of like a good and bad things, and then you chuck it into the AI, right? And then AI will determine from that data set and see what's good and bad, and then they can distinguish the good and bad eventually. That's what learning is for the machines, right? It's the same for humans. You need to have the data set for good and bad. So you need to have that good website that explains you good things, or that like some person's bad post explaining the wrong concept in like and those kind of stuff. And then you can have those kind of like distinguish between those two by experience, right? So like the shortest way to learn this is to like chuck in data sets and then learn from those. But you're definitely gonna like spend a lot of time doing that, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day. If you don't like build a like experience from those, it's gonna be really hard for you down the road, and to like you'll be that person asking on Facebook or like on social media to like everything to other people. So you don't want to be that person, right? So you're an artist. You need to build it yourself, or you need to learn it from your experience, or like you need to like search on the website. You need to learn how to search the information. You need to learn how to learn. So I usually trust a person who is like saying, "Oh, I'm not really educated because I'm self-taught," and then like if you see his artwork and he's like really like brilliant and fascinating and like and mesmerizing and dazzling, like I can trust those kind of person because they know how to search or like look for good informations and they have the experience, right? I really trust those kind of guys because like if they try to learn a new thing, they know where to look for. They know how to like learn new things. Yeah, curated information. Well, depends on what kind of like curated information you're looking for. So, curated site is like, I like this is my personal opinion, nothing related to the company, but I don't really like the curated websites. Like it's automatically created. It's not a blog post or anyway. Like usually they just steal other people's informations and then post it as a blog article and then take credit from those kind of like artists. So I really don't like those kind of like websites. But if you mean the curated information from other people or like recommended information that other people give you, that will be valuable. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's my kind of like philosophy because I learned ZBrush by myself, and there was not much people like teaching me ZBrush before I like learned the basic like concept, except for like getting like a lot of information from the videos, like what Pixologic posted, or especially what Joseph posted. To be honest, like I was watching a lot of like Joseph and Paul's videos and Solomon's to get a lot of information out of it. So yeah, that's where I learned a lot of like ZBrush stuff. So it's out there definitely, and like people can learn from documents as well. Like documentation is a really big part of what makes ZBrush great. I feel is a lot of things like if you wonder about like, oh, what does this parameter do, you can go to the documentation and then read about it. You'll get a better understanding of like what ZBrush is doing under the hood. Yeah, like it's the same for like media stuff. Like I'm not gonna go into politics, but um, if you want to understand the full picture of what's going on, you need to read multiple articles. What kind of like journalist is like posting those kind of like articles? It's the same thing. Like you can use this knowledge to control your media like what do you call those media understanding and news understanding. It's the same thing. Like it's the same for like, well, especially I guess this is, I don't know, this is just Japan related, but like there's really bad articles of like tech tips of 3D softwares out there. So I'm really concerned about those, and you need to have a taste to like have a better understanding of which information is legit or not, and that goes to like a lot of like aspects. Like you can do the same for like education, you can do the same for like news analysis, you can do it for like social media as well. Like there's so much fake stuff out there. Well, I'm not gonna like try to like talk bad about like other softwares, but like for just as an example, if you search a specific like how to change color in Photoshop or something like that, like if you like have a car, and then if you want to swap the car's color to specific like specific colors like red, then if you try to search that term, there's so much like bad videos or like tutorials out there, right? You've seen those kind of stuff. And then you swipe to another video really quickly, right? So yeah, but it's the same. Like if it's not just like crappy articles, like like sometimes it's just the wrong articles, right? But like you need to like know how to walk through the information forest to like be comfortable with those kind of like situations. So you need to get into the forest. You need to go outside and then check some informations, and then come back with a couple of like informations or mushrooms, and then try to eat them, and then get some food poisoning during the way, I guess. But next time you will understand that specific like information was wrong, or like actually trying to test them, and then if it's not doing it, then you can have a mental note saying that, oh, this is not right way to do it, or like this guy talking on the forum and has no idea what he's talking about. All those kind of like stuff. It's pretty common, right? But it's just like you get the idea of like this stuff, like especially after you have a couple of like testing, or like a couple of like searching, you get the whole picture of like what's going on, what kind of like information I'm looking for, where to look for. if you see the same person on the forums, can I trust this guy? Can I trust his information? Or those kind of stuff. It's pretty common. I recall one software I used in the past. I'm not gonna mention any names, but when I went to their forums, they had no idea what they were talking about as an employee. Like I was really confused, and like I did some like coding in that software specifically, and then I went down into the XML files, and then I saw a pattern, and then I went to the forums, said, hey, if you go to the XML files and then swap this specific terms, and then do some like swapping, it's gonna be able to do this kind of like stuff. And I showcased a couple of things, right? And then the employee replied to that and said, oh, I had no idea. And turns out that was a pretty much common way to go about those kind of like tricks. And I was like surprised at the end of the day, like, why am I asking or like answering on this forum? And then I never went back to that. And I learned later on that that software company was bought by another software company. So the employee had no idea what they were like dealing with. So and then there was another forum before it got bought, and that had a lot of like treasure troves of information in it. So from experience, those kind of like stuff happen. So yeah. I used to use Surface Pro 2 with ZBrush, but not the recent ones, so I have no idea about the recent Surface Pros. It's pretty easy to sort out bad tutorials from the good ones right away. I think you're right. Yeah, I use After Effects and like Premiere a lot, but yeah, there is really bad tutorials out there. And like it's weirdly highly rated for some reason. That part really baffles me a lot. Like nobody says it's a bad tutorials, and that because of that it's getting a high ranked. It's getting a high rank on the search ranks, and it comes on top every single time for some reason. Well, Pro 2, it's good for casual sculpting, but like if I want to do some like actual sculpting like this, or more complex stuff like finished 3D products, no, it was pretty slow. Yeah, it took too much time. But for casual sculpting, yeah, it's fine. You can do up to like 20 million, but it's pretty slow for Dynamesh, and like Projectile will take a lot of time and then eat up batteries, but yeah, it's doable. in a few cases, the users can be better than the designers. I feel like the video games can be like that, especially fighting games. Yeah, well, depends on what kind of like designer you're talking about, though. But like, if it's a designer who doesn't really spend time playing games or like especially fighting games, for in that example, yeah, there is a couple of cases like that. But like if you talk to a person in Capcom about like Street Fighter, they know everything, right? They're not mucking around. So yeah, they usually know what's going on. But if you ask some like casual indie fighting game that has no idea what they're doing, yeah, that happens. So yeah, depends. So what my example was that it was bought by another company. So the employees was not really used to that specific software, and I was talking to a community manager, and the community manager had no experience using the software, right? So that's a huge no-no. Like you need to have you need like if you're answering questions on a forum, you need to have like at least use the software like deeply enough to understand what you're talking about, right? Mm. Kind of makes me think about my job positions, right? Like if I don't sculpt in anything, and then like if I'm talking about like sculpting and how to do anatomy and talking bullshit, like that's gonna like that's not right, right? like at least I'm like spending time using software and then like freely sculpting on my weekends, and then I can talk about like, oh, you need to do this and that and those kind of stuff, right? But yeah, there is a couple of like cases where you need to like find the good, like trustworthy informations out there to get the correct information. But like in ZBrush, it's pretty easy. Like there's a lot of like influences, well, artists who is doing a lot of good to the community. Like for example, Michael Pavlovich, or like if you go to ZBrush guides, you can have Pablo talking about ZBrush, and yeah, Polygon talking about character concept designs and stuff. Shane Olson talking about 3D characters, like from like block out to those kind of stuff as well, right? There's a lot of people you can trust. Yeah, and then that's common, right? Like I start a project and then sometimes I stop because I don't like the sculpt, or like I want to start from scratch, or I didn't have time and then totally forgot about it, and then that pretty much happens. But You don't need to feel bad about it. Like, you're human. I'm a human as well, so. But like, it's better to finish your it's like, it's better to finish your artwork as much as possible, even if you don't like it. You can call it finished and at any time, but just like distinguish it between like the finished actual artwork, or if it is just a practice piece, and like try to get most out of it, even though it's a practice piece. So if I start making some project and then if I don't finish, and like some cases I just focus on the hairs, or I just focus on the poses, or I just focus on the flow of the cloth and those kind of stuff, right? Like getting the most of the value out from that like practice, and then like calling it finished would be, I think, would be the ideal way to go about it. Depends on how you see it though. I see it that way. Well, my words are just coming from experience, to be honest. Like, it really makes you feel bad when you feel you haven't finished your artwork. Oh, I need to go back because I must finish this piece. And then you're going back, you're not really happy about the actual like piece at all, and then you feel miserable, right? It happens, but I love to like have fun, the most fun out of my things. So I really don't want to spend so much time if I don't feel it's more fun anymore. Unless it's a like if it's a like thing that my friend is asking for or something like that, or I promised my on Twitter that I need to finish this artwork or something like that, right? So unless it's like those things, I tend to just skip until I find another time or a different occasion to do so. So, and I know for a fact if I'm not having fun making those artworks, it's not gonna look good. You know it in your hearts, right? I think I focused too much on talking compared to the sculpting aspect. Like, how did I take 2 hours to just sculpt a foot? Sorry guys, like I need to. I wanted to have more progress, but some days I just like focus on talking, and then lose my mind over talking, and then like sculpting it. Yeah. It's fun to do streaming, but at the same time, I do want to like do some progress over my sculpts. Yeah, I was gonna do some posing as well, so. Well, next stream definitely will be posing. I do need to do some refining of the posing for the legs, but yeah, that's a small part of it, I guess. Yeah, I do need to like adjust the model to be ready for posing as well, so those exist as well. There's a couple of cleanups we need to do as well. I don't know if it's just me or I don't know, but like when I do streaming, especially in English, like it eats up my brain power a lot for talking, so I can't really focus on the sculpting aspect. And like it's the same for Japanese. Like if I do the Japanese streams, like it's eating up my brain power a lot on the talking aspect. And I thought to myself, I'm not really a natural speaker compared to like Paul. Like he's talented. Like he can speak hours and hours and on end, but and it's fun and entertaining and educational at the same time. And he can do sculpts. But I seem to have a hard time doing that. So bear with me. I'll try my best. Like I need to do some training as well. I need to get good at this. I find it's hard to push through a thought process that may not be working quite how I wanted it to when I'm like streaming those. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It feels like that. And you can't like it shouldn't like your brain part is different. It shouldn't interfere with the sculpting and the language part of the brain. So it shouldn't do it. But like I don't know why. But like you lose the train of like thought while sculpting. So it's like hard to talk and sculpt at the same time. I can draw and talk at the same time, but like sculpting is, I don't know why it's hard, but like it's hard. I love it when I get a confirmation from a streamer. Yeah, I thought it was just me or like my bad brains, I guess. Yeah, I really think I really appreciate the guys who can do this really naturally. They're gifted. Like people can do like the craziest jokes on streams and then like sculpt some badass like sculpts, right? I'm like baffled, like how can they do that? Am I hiding some mesh? I thought there was a cylinder here. Yeah, I remember making a joke about like inserting a monster energy directly into the veins. Hmm. Maybe it's hidden, like, or maybe I just accidentally deleted it. Might happen. Well, I can just like insert a cylinder later on, if that's the case. I think my problem is that I'm too technical to speak. At first, I didn't know you could sculpt modular meshes with ZBrush. I thought it was all had to be a single mesh. The single mesh is okay too. Yeah, it's fine. At first, I caught myself trapped in this bubble of like doing everything by the book when in reality you can take various other approaches, especially with ZBrush. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, it happens to me a lot when I'm not sculpting and when I'm doing the modeling aspect. It like I try, I like I'm my brain is like trying to make sense of like having an octagons, like eight-sided shapes on the cylinders at every time I do it, or like 12 or like 8 or 12 kind of like side shapes on a cylinder. Like for example, if I do an arm, for some reason I think that I need to keep that eight-sided shape all the way from the arm to the shoulders. Right? So for me, if I add additional edges, like my brain gets confused, and like it rejects that. My brain rejects the reality that I need to add a couple of edges for some reason. Like 8 edges, 12 edges is not a big deal, unless you're dealing with really low topology, right? And if you're like dealing with subdivisions, it's not going to make a big difference unless you're specified with a topology, right? But somehow I'm getting like my brain is rejecting it. So I get what you mean, but you need to get out of that shell at some point. Yeah. Really amazing work, man. Oh, thanks. Thanks. When are you streaming next? I'd love to see you post this sculpt. It's the next week. It's 2 weeks after this, so 14 days will be the next one. Next week I'm gonna do the Japanese stream, so it's only mainly me explaining things in Japanese, and then the next week after that will be the usual English stream I'm doing right now. Artist OCD kicking me. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, those kind of like topology is like really a pain for me. Like I can't bear topology. Like I'd rather pay someone else to do my topology if I could. But yeah, I usually just do my topology as much as possible, and then struggle with 8-sided shapes or 12-sided shapes or 16-sided shapes. And like usually I can't, my brain doesn't like the fact I can use 10-sided or 14-sided shapes. My brain always confirms to 8, 12, or 16 for some reason. I don't know. yeah, I hate topology. Like, I don't want to spend time just re-topologizing. My OCD kicks in and spoils the fun. King statues, yeah, king statues a bit more better than topology, but it's kind of the same deal for me. I don't want to deal with keying stuff, but you gotta learn how to key stuff if you want to get into the industry of like doing 3D prints as well. Okay, so it's 8:45 for me in Japan, and I need to end my stream here. So hope you enjoyed. Let's see you guys next week, so 14 days from here, and hope you guys had fun, and like I'll try to be a bit more like productive in my sculpt next time. So see you guys, bye. Yeah, have a good day.